So Israel Adesanya has come out in an interview today and said that he wants to go back to his old ways of fighting. He wants to, he doesn't care about the belts. That's what he said. He said he doesn't care about belts and he wants to just fight like there's no belt on the line. You know what I mean? Or like not that he's trying to get to the belt. He came out in this interview with Bang Tao Muay Thai and MMA, some I guess news outlet or whatever, and he said this. He said, "For me, it's not about the belts anymore. I just want to fight. I just want to do things like I did on the way to the belt. I still fought really well when I was defending the belt, but I want to fight more freely. I want to try some risky stuff like I used to." And basically, he's just saying that, he wants to fight without the pressure. He wants to fight like there's no belt on the line, there's no pressure, it's just another fight. And yeah, fair enough. But he said this before. He actually said this last year before he fought Dricus du Plessis. This was in around the summer of 2024. He said, "People are always like, I hope you get back to the belt. I have belts. I don't need any more belts. I'm coming for heads." And I think he's even said it before. Like he says, my problem with Adesanya is talks this big game about, oh, he's gonna knock people out and blah blah blah, and he does get those sometimes, but he'll talk all this and then point fight for like 5 rounds. You know, obviously this year he fought, or we're at the tail end of the year. Merry Christmas, by the way, and he fought. What was it? He fought. I've just the. I can't remember his name. This is a bad example, but he fought at the start of the year in February and he got knocked out. Imavov, that was it. He fought Imavov and he got knocked out in, I believe it was the first or second round. I can't exactly remember, but he got knocked out and he hadn't fought since. And he's saying 2026, he's going to have his return, he's going to be active, he's just going to fight fun fights, fun fights. He's going to fight who he wants because there's no belts because he's not really close to a belt right now. But the thing is, I don't know if he will. I think he's just saying that. I don't actually think he will because he's old. Adesanya's like 36 or 37 or something like that. He's old. He's not going to be as fast as he once was. I think if he loses again, he'll probably just retire because there's no point. He's gonna if he loses again, he's gonna be on a 4 fight losing streak since losing to Sean Strickland, since losing his belt, and it would be what, losing 5 of your last 6 if you do include the Pereira fights. And he just does this all the time, especially in saying. My main point is that he's saying like when he was coming to the when he was he wants to fight like he was when he was coming to the belt, coming up towards the belt, and even when he was a champion. And he's saying that he fought well as a champion. He didn't really. He just point fought at most fights. You have your Romero fight. You have the Cannonier fight, which was like the worst one. Obviously, Romero was like the worst one, but like that was like Romero. Like it was still kind of funny, but for an actual fight that didn't like they weren't staring at each other, like an actual proper fight, the Cannonier one was terrible. Who else? He point fought. Uh, who else did he point fight? I'm trying to remember his title fights. It was the Blachowicz fight was whatever. That was up a weight class. I guess that's an excuse. The Vittori fight. It was the Vittori fight after the Blachowicz fight. That was just he just because he's like skirting around the outside on the outside. Maybe he'll back them up and do something or whatever, right? But a lot of it's just leg kicking at range and stuff like that. But if he does come back and he does maybe be a bit more aggressive in fights, that's fair enough. But I don't think he will do that because he's never really done that. Obviously, there's the Pereira fight and stuff. But the thing is, the Pereira in the Costa fight, or the Pereira second fight, I should say, in the Costa fight, he had the thing, what he says is gyno, who knows, right? We can't definitively prove this, but it's like when he grows, like when he gets enlarged nipple or what it is, enlarged chest, breast, whatever. He like gets knockout power out of nowhere. This is like if you've watched UFC for the last 5 years, you know this thing. You know the Adesanya is a bit sus when it comes to his knockout power, and it's like whenever he has this swell on his chest, is he'll just automatically get knockout power. Same with the Pereira second fight. This is a photo from the second Pereira fight where he knocked Pereira out, and this is his his right nipple, and you can see it's very swollen, and it's like one of those sus things about Adesanya. It's like, is he on PEDs? Is he not? He was the UFC star boy. When he fought Whitaker, it was close, and one judge gave it a 49-46 scorecard, and it's like, where has that come from? And it's like, the UFC kind of let him, obviously with USADA and stuff like that. They were a bit more lenient with the UFC. Maybe the UFC kind of was like, guys, don't let's not disclose this Adesanya. He's the big star at that time in 2022. There was like no big stars. Topuria wasn't up. Hamzat was still like unranked. Uh, Obviously, who else? Makachev hadn't fought for the belt yet. So Adesanya was the big star, and it's like, yeah, like with the UFC kind of like being a bit more hush hush, if you know what I'm trying to say. And I'm gonna go through Adesanya's record just to kind of back this up with his fights. So obviously, you have his recent fights. He lost, whatever, right? The Pereira fight, he got a knockout. This is kind of more. This is to reinforce the whole like he fought well when he was coming up to the belt and when he was a champion and whatever, right? And it's like, yeah, he got the knockout against Pereira. Before that was the Cannonier fight, which was like a boring fight, just literally skirting on the outside, just waiting in case Cannonier threw a bomb and just avoiding it, and then leg kicking at range, maybe a high kick at some point. The Whitaker fight was like close. It was not 49-46. It was not 4-1. One judge gave it 4-1, which is like crazy. Before that was Vittori, boring fight as well. The highlight of that fight was because Adesanya grabbed Vittori's arse at the end of the fight, right before the final bell. The Blachowicz fight is that was alright. It was just seeing if he was getting knocked out or not. I don't know. Well, he lost that, but Costa, which I already explained when he had his nipple was massive, and he just knocked Costa out with like a glancing left hook. Obviously that can happen, but it's a bit sus. Before that, Romero, we all know Romero fight. They just had an eye-staining contest for about 25 minutes, and he never rushed in. He never tried to finish anything. Never tried to land really anything big. It was like Romero just trying to land it, and Adesanya trying to avoid a big punch. Whitaker, when he won the title, that was a good fight. That was a good fight. That was like one of his best performances, I'd say. Gastelum, like it was we've seen after this fight, Gastelum just like fell off a cliff. He fell off a cliff, and it's like one of his worst wins ever to date, just because of what happened to Gastelum after. And plus, it was like what Gastelum was like a 5 foot, 5'9" middleweight, like fat middleweight. Like it's not that good of a look in hindsight. Let's be honest. I know it was 6 years ago, but it's still not that good. And then this is him talking about coming up to the belt. So what, he went to the decision with Anderson Silva. Maybe he was like kind of not throwing the fight, but not wanting to knock Anderson Silva out just because he was like a legend and he looked up to him. Maybe. Brunson, that was fine. Decision with Tavares, decision with Vittori for the first fight. And then his first couple fights were like finishes because I guess he was just like miles ahead. Like obviously they wanted to test him out at the start, gave him like a really easy guys and stuff like that. But a lot of his fights are just decisions. He claims to be like this amazing kickboxer, or fans claim it anyway. And it's like he's getting decisions. He's like not really. He's not like, unless he like knows he can like knock someone out like for sure. He'll just skirt on the outside and like point fight really. So I just wanted to kind of talk about that today because of this statement. It's like he's like, I'm not coming for or like I'm not fighting for the belt, therefore I'm gonna like turn into what's it uh what's Goku. He's gonna turn into Goku when he's not fighting for a belt. You know what I mean? But I mean, in the last fight against Mavov's obviously really good, right? But it's like you can't claim you're like amazing and then like lose to a Mavov. Mavov's good, but it's like, you know what I mean. So yeah, Depends who he fights, you know. Depends who he fights. That's a big one. Like he might fight Strickland in a rematch. Strickland in a rematch would be a good fight, considering Strickland's like nowhere near a title shot and all that. I know Strickland's fighting what's his name? The Mexican guy. I can't. Hernandez. He's fighting Fluffy Hernandez. And if he loses that, then yeah, sure, do Adesanya Strickland too. That would be a good fight, right? Adesanya might win. Who knows? But he wasn't really when this statement here. I want to do some risky stuff like I used to. He never really done risky stuff. He done risky stuff maybe against lower ranked people, but never like in title fights. He would just literally he would never do risky stuff in title fights. That was the biggest thing because he'd always point fight for like the third time I've said that. But yeah, so I just don't like when Adesanya says this stuff because it is like obviously not. I think it's not true. I think it's kind of more bigging himself up, maybe inflating his status as a fighter, his record, maybe. But yeah, so that's kind of all I want to say. And please like, subscribe, helps out, and I will see you later. Thanks for watching. Bye.